and thank you for coming to this afternoon press conference here in Moss Landing. I'm happy to tell you that we have folks here that are going to give you an update on the current situation, and most importantly, I'm very happy to say that we have our partners with the United States Environmental Protection Agency that are also going to give a tremendous amount of valuable information to the community to hopefully set aside some anxiety that I know people are feeling. My name is Nick Pasculi. I am the County Communications Director and Chief Public Information Officer for the County of Monterey. And we will have our speakers, and then after the speakers, we will also have a Q&A. We also have representatives of Vistra on hand in case you have any specific questions for Vistra. A couple of things I want to say before we get started with the press conference. If you have a question, our media partners, please raise your hand. We are using a microphone because we are live streaming this. This is being live streamed on YouTube and Facebook right now, and we want the audience that's watching to be able to hear your questions. Please identify yourself and your network or your station or your paper or radio station. So thank you very much. A couple of important notes. The information that the EPA will be providing to us will be posted on the county's website, and the website it'll be in two places, or you can access that information in two places. One, by going to countyofmonterey.gov, and under the government tab, look for the Department of Emergency Management. Another way to get there directly is readymontereycounty.org. In addition, our health department has set up a hotline for folks to call if they have questions or concerns that are health related to the incident that we're here to talk about today. That phone number, if you'd like to make a note, is area code 831-769-8700. That's 831-769-8700. So there are resources available, information from the health department with regard to anyone concerned about potential health hazards. With that, our first speaker is going to be Supervisor Glenn Church. Supervisor Church is the 2nd District Supervisor. This is his country, so to speak, his part of his the slice of the county. And so please welcome Supervisor Church.
Thank you, Nick. I first just want to start off by thanking all the first responders that have been here for this whole incident. But I particularly want to draw attention to North County Fire. Chief Mendoza, who leads that. They've been the lead agency out here. They're local. They know the community. They live here, and I think with the experience over the last few years, North County Fire is probably as knowledgeable about fires of this nature as anybody else in the state or even in the country, and there should be some comfort into that. As you look at this today, I'm cautiously optimistic that the worst of this is over. We don't have any flames. The smoke has died down. There is still heat inside the structure. I'm hoping that will continue to dissipate, but I think we should all be aware that there's no guarantee of any kind on us. You never know what can happen. It could. There are still batteries in there that could potentially catch on fire, or the flames could rise up, and let's hope it doesn't, since we have some wind going today. And as I say, I just hope we're past the worst of this. I do want to make it clear that I am concerned about the long term, extremely concerned. I have a lot of doubts right now about where we're at in this technology. I realize the significance as we move to renewables down the line, how important this would be. And while this is basically at this time under the control of the state of California on major regulations, the county does have some role in terms of land use and permitting in there. And I'm going to make sure that the county look at all elements of the permitting process and land use that it has in terms of making things as safe as possible, and making sure that we go forward here and in a path where we're not going to have accidents of this type happen. I'm hoping that this facility will not be turned back on until we have some answers to how this fire started and what can be done to prevent any of that happening in the future. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nick Pasculi. There you are, Nick.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Church. And we're happy to have with us today Assemblywoman Dawn Addis, who would like to make a few brief comments. Assemblywoman Addis.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon. I think it's afternoon there. We've been here all morning and getting a briefing, and we're glad to be back. Went to see evacuees yesterday. As I mentioned, we were going to have a private visit with evacuees, and very soon after that, the evacuation order was lifted, which we are very glad about. As Supervisor Church mentioned, you don't see flames behind us at the moment, but this is still a situation in flux. We don't know what is going to happen next, but we are incredibly hopeful that this situation is coming to an end. We continue to look for answers, to want to understand root cause. That information is still forthcoming in our office. I, in particular, am going to be dogged in getting that information, getting accountability, and understanding how we prevent this kind of situation ever again in the future. As I said yesterday, we can never have a fire like this or a battery energy storage system failure like this ever again in the future. This is a horrible, horrible situation, but frankly, we all got lucky. There have been no deaths. The emergency order is lifted. Our first responders have been nothing short of phenomenal, and I want to thank every single one of them for their swift action, for their communication, and for the way that they've handled this emergency. And our office is here to serve. We are working hand in glove. I share the same concerns as Supervisor Church in terms of how we move forward into the future. I will reiterate our call for a full investigation, not a self-investigation by the company whose responsibility this was, but a full outside investigation into what happened, and that this battery energy storage stay offline until we understand what happened, why it happened, and how we can prevent anything like this from happening in the future. So thank you so much for having me, and I'll turn it back over to Nick. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Addis. And picking up on something that Assemblywoman just said, we also want to thank our 911 operators. They are the unsung hero. They have literally taken thousands of calls over the last several days about this. So we do want to make sure that our 911 operators are acknowledged. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Chief Mendoza. He is the Chief and Incident Commander here at this event with the North Monterey County Fire Protection District. Chief Mendoza.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Joel Mendoza, North County Fire. First of all, thank you for joining us and allowing us to present information that will hopefully put some minds at ease. So as was mentioned earlier, this is the best that we've looked at this location. I'm cautiously optimistic when I put this information out because we have had flare-ups that have happened in the past. So we'll get high-intensity fire and it'll die down overnight when it cools off, and then during the day we'll see fire intensify. This is normal for battery fires, for lithium-ion battery fires. It's normal. It's a process that we knew was going to happen. We expected it, hence keeping the roadway closed. Again, I'm hopefully optimistic that we've seen the worst of that, and that this evening we won't see any more flare-ups, and then we can start thinking about opening up these roadways. So I can report that approximately 80% of the building and batteries within that building have been consumed. This is a big number, and you know, at one point we were thinking that the entire building was going to burn. Unfortunately, for us, now we have that one section that hasn't burnt that we need to investigate before we begin any work that we would put responders close to that building. So what goes on next? We have engineers that the plant is providing, the plant operators are providing engineers and teams that are assessing the building to ensure that it is stable so that we can begin that next process, right? We need to investigate to see if batteries are stable, if they're hot and maybe ready to go into any condition that is unstable. I can report that up until now, everything that we've done, all the work that's been done throughout the day and yesterday evening has been positive.
and let's hope that it stays that way. Again, a lot of work that's going to happen before we can even start thinking about getting that thing cleaned up. At this point, we need to mitigate. We need to ensure that the fire's out. We need to ensure that the fire is contained, and I think we're working towards that pace very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Mendoza, and I know the County of Monterey is forever grateful for the efforts of your department and all our fellow firefighters. At this time, I'd like to bring up Sheriff Tina Nieto.
Good afternoon, Sheriff Tina Nieto. First off, I want to thank North County Fire, Chief Mendoza behind me. We've been working hand in hand with all our public safety, but Chief Mendoza has been the rock through this whole incident as the incident commander. So I'm very grateful to the partners that I've had, and it's not just North County Fire, but CAL FIRE, all the municipal law enforcement agencies in the area, both our public and our private partners, and our legislators that stand behind me to work through this incident. This is a situation where technology has been both a friend and a foe. A foe because this is new technology with these storage areas with the lithium batteries. We were exploring unknown territories with fires such as this, although we've had a few across the nation. This was something new to our county, and I hope that it's the last one that we have in our county. But technology has also been helpful. What I want to report out to the public is we do have a temporary flight restriction over this area. And so the drones that you see in the air are drones that are operated both by fire and police in order to gauge the safety and when we can start moving into the location to try to stabilize the situation. The biggest question that law enforcement has gotten today is really when is this part of the highway going to open in front of Moss Landing. What I can tell the public, thank you for your patience while it's been closed. We've kept it closed because with this new technology and lithium fires, they still can be smoldering and then they can catch on fire. I think we saw that over the last 2 days. The first when the fire started and we had the plant behind me where you could see the flames coming from it. We did think that we were maybe getting it under control a little bit, and then the second day or that evening, it flared up again. And so we've kept the road closed because we know that we have to get emergency equipment and sometimes large emergency equipment into the area. And the last thing that we need, although the public is curious, is the public getting in the way of our emergency services trying to do their job. So thank you. Thank you to the residents in the area. Yesterday, we made the decision after we knew that we didn't have any harmful gases that could affect the public. When we knew that it was safe for the public to repopulate, we did that as quickly as we could. So I want to thank the public again for those who were displaced for that short time, for listening to the evacuation order and the evacuation warnings in the area. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my law partner, Captain King. Captain King is the Monterey Area Commanding Officer for the California Highway Patrol.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to applaud the incident commander and the incident command team for the work that they've been doing. I got to say, for the incidents that I've been on in my career, the communication, the information sharing, all the things that have been happening at such a quick speed are because of the relationships that everybody has. And none of these relationships fostered or started just right here on this incident. They've been created long before this, so that when these incidents do happen, we can actually work together. As the sheriff mentioned, a small portion of the roadway is still closed. Caltrans is manning those closures. I also want to extend the appreciation to the public for being respectful of Caltrans. They don't get to make the decisions on certain things, so please be patient with them. As the sheriff said, as soon as the incident commander determines that the area is safe, we can get things open. We'll keep things updated on the websites that the PIO just discussed, and also roadway conditions as far as what we're going to open. When it's open, you can follow us on X, on CHP Monterey, and we'll keep that. We'll make sure that that's updated quickly. So, thank you.
Thank you very much to all our law enforcement partners. So at this time, I have the great pleasure of introducing to you a representative from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, Olivia Trombadori.
Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Trombador. I'm a federal on-scene coordinator with US EPA. First off, I want to reiterate what my partners have said. The Incident Command Team has been doing a fantastic job on this response. We received a request from the Incident Command Team and county to respond to this fire right after it began, and we arrived on scene late that first night to deploy air monitoring equipment. Right now, we have 9 different monitoring locations. They are some inside the perimeter of the facility, some right outside the perimeter of the facility, and others further into the community area. We are monitoring for hydrogen fluoride and particulates at this time. The reason we are monitoring for those two constituents is because based on our experience, we know that battery fires of this type produce 2 different hazards. One is hydrogen fluoride, the other is particulates. The hydrogen fluoride, of course, is coming from the battery chemistry, while the particulates are coming from the fire combustion itself. In addition to our efforts, the Vistra has brought a contractor to the scene, and they are also doing fixed and roaming air monitoring. They are monitoring for the same things that we are, and their air monitoring efforts are complementary to ours at this time. So there's quite a lot of resources on the ground. Based on the monitoring that we have been doing since late the first night, we have not seen any levels of these 2 contaminants that would pose a risk to the public, so we're very happy to report that. We are providing our data to the Incident Command Team and the county. Starting today, we've already provided some of those data to the county, and we will continue to provide those data throughout the day so that they can be published, as mentioned by Nick, on the county website. We're very happy to be here to help, and we look forward to continuing to help out as much as we can. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Olivia. And at this time, I would also like to make mention that we want to thank all the residents again. We can't do that enough. The residents have been extremely cooperative and helpful and understanding, and we appreciate that. And we also appreciate all the residents of Monterey County, because the concerns of this incident have gone beyond the North County area, have extended over to the peninsula, and we want you to know that we hear you and we are trying to provide you as much information as we possibly can. And also I want to thank our Public Works Department, because they have been partners with the California Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Office and of course Caltrans on road closures throughout our county so this area remains safe. So as I said, we will now have some time for question and answers, and again, if you are with the media and you have a question, please identify yourself. Maite Anaya has a microphone. We want you to use the microphone because we are live streaming this and we want your questions to be heard by the public. And so at this time, I'll open it to questions. KION?
Thanks. Scott Rates, News Director with KION. 4 fires here since 2019, since it's opened. We talk about a thorough investigation. We talk about trying to figure out what happened and not putting this power plant back online until that investigation is complete. But what about the past 3 fires? Why wasn't that done then? A lot of people want to know, and a lot of people don't have a lot of faith that this thing comes back online, that it's not going to do the same thing again for a 5th time.
Okay, I don't know if a representative from Vistra would like to address that, please. And the question was about investigations with regard to this incident and previous incidents. And I know Vistra can speak to just 2 previous incidents.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nick. Brad Watson, Senior Director of Community Affairs at Vistra. And would you repeat your question again so I have the...
Yeah, there's a lot of concern out there. Obviously, there have been 4 fires at this plant since 2019. We talk about doing a full, complete investigation before it comes back online. But why wasn't a complete investigation done those past 3 times? Weren't lessons learned then? And the people I talk to, they don't have a lot of confidence that if this thing does come back online, it's not going to happen again. How can you assure them that that's not going to happen, and why wasn't a complete investigation done the past 3 times?
Fair question. Thank you for your question. First of all, let me say that Vistra's focused on safety as a priority. We are focused along with the county, the state, US EPA, all the agencies that we are collaborating and cooperating with right now for the site right now, and to get this fire out. And then we will begin to investigate what happened here and find out what the root cause is, and maintain safety. And may I say as well that we're very aware of the impact this has made on the people in the community and the inconveniences of traffic and so forth. And for that, we apologize, we're sorry, and we're going to do business the right way and make good on this to make sure that everything is done to do all we can humanly and technically possible that it doesn't happen again. Now, to your question, there were 2 other incidents or events at Vistra which had to do with really operational issues or overheating of batteries because water got on those batteries, 21 and in 2022. At that time, those projects were brought down for quite a long time, months. We went in, investigated, learned what the causes were, in some cases had to do redesign, reconfigure equipment, and months went by, and we lived up to our commitment that we would share all that information on what the root cause was and what we did to correct it, to put the projects back online, and that is what we did. Those reports still exist on our website. They're available to the public. We shared them with everybody, Chief Mendoza, other agencies as well, so everybody knew about that. So the other part of your question is the concern that this could happen again. What we will do here, when the time is right after this fire is out, we'll go back in and we'll go through the same very methodical, exacting investigation to find out what happened. We want to learn what happened. We share those conclusions so that not only can other companies and academics and researchers know about this, but manufacturers as well, to learn how we can improve the equipment, the processes, and everything that goes into this technology and this renewable energy that Californians want and deserve. So we will go through that same process again, and we will put the best technology and the best human minds to work to make sure that we can get the highest probability it won't happen again. I guarantee we will do all we can, as I said, humanly possible and with technology, for a high probability it will not happen again. You know, when you look at technology, everything that we have, the phones we all use, cars we drive, the renewable energy that we are depending on here in California to try to transform the grid to more renewable energy, the benefits outweigh the risks in so many ways, but they're not perfect.
But a lot of people will say that's completely false. Those benefits wouldn't outweigh the risks, especially when you have toxic chemicals going up in the air. People are concerned about their health, right? They're concerned about these particulates coming back down to the ground, possibly getting to the drinking water. How do you want to address that? What do you want to tell those people?
Well, we are addressing now just the way we are. We are doing this safely and methodically and making sure, first of all, everybody is safe. Now we have gone back and doing our part, cooperating with agencies. We brought in our own independent third-party consultant that's an expert nationally in doing air quality analysis for these kinds of events to assure that the air is below whatever the standards are that could harm health or the environment, and we're making that information available. Good?
Let me see what else. You might want to stay close. Yes, KSBW.
Hi, thank you. Zoe Hunt with KSBW. You guys mentioned you have 9 monitoring sites, some extending into the neighborhoods. How exactly far are you testing the air quality? Is this reaching Prunedale? Is it reaching Watsonville?
Okay, the question was about the testing sites. Liv?
Great question. So, like I said, we've got our 9 different locations, and then CTEH is here with Vistra doing roaming community monitoring. So, our farthest reaching spots are, well, I'll start in the beginning and then go out. We've got 2 monitoring locations inside the plant. We've got 4 monitoring locations right on the outside of the plant. So that's 1 to the north, 1 to the south, 1 to the east, and 1 to the west. Specifically, we have that westerly one there because we were thinking of the community to the west of the power plant in Moss Landing. Then we have 3 additional locations that are farther north, farther east, and farther south in the extent of where the original evacuation orders were.
You have a follow-up for that?
Yes. More specifically, are you testing water quality, and how are you going to be doing this if so?
At this time, we are only doing air monitoring. We were brought into the response with that request specifically. We're currently focused on the immediate risk to the public, which is why we are doing air monitoring and focusing on that. We continue to look forward to be a resource to the county and to the incident command team as the needs evolve. Moving from when this moves from emergency into the next phase. So at this time, we are just doing air monitoring.
Thank you. We're talking about hydrogen fluoride here, which can be highly toxic for drinking water. Will that be something that you will be looking at into the future in testing the drinking water here? Because I know that a lot of folks in this area are concerned about that.
Hydrogen fluoride is extremely toxic, as you mentioned. It's actually a very toxic inhalation hazard because it's an acidic gas. We did some plume modeling early in this response to show where that hydrogen fluoride, plume may have been. We take very conservative approaches to this, so we assume, when we assume 100% of the combustibles are hydrogen fluoride, when in reality that's very conservative. Our plume model showed that the hydrogen fluoride potential would really only be in the facility itself because those gases are pretty fully consumed in a fire of this magnitude. For those of you who saw online and on the news, or even from your homes, I'm certain you could see how big a fire this was. So gases are consumed quite quickly in a situation like that. So for the HF risk, it's really close to the plant itself. And as I mentioned, we have not seen anything on our monitoring equipment that indicates any risks to the public.
Will you be testing the water?
Not at this time, because at this time that is not an immediate risk to the public, as the air is.
Okay, right up here at Monterey County Weekly.
So this question, I've got a couple questions. I don't know if this
No,
is
that's
on.
that's for the online. You're good.
So, and I guess the first one would be for Olivia. My understanding is that the HF, because of the meteorological conditions, it went pretty vertical up into the atmosphere, and it's a gas, and so that there may not be fallout from it. I mean, can you speak to that? I mean, is that a viable hypothesis?
So that was what I was trying to say before. We are working, firstly, I'll say that we are working closely with the state toxicologist and the state experts on this. And so they're really informing the county and informing the incident management team and helping us with these types of questions. But what I was saying before, trying to say, is that gases like that are being fully consumed by the fire. So yes, we wouldn't expect to see that sort of fallout from a plume like this for HF specifically, because it's a gas, it's being consumed by the fire.
It's being consumed by the fire, but it's not rising up into the atmosphere?
You know, for those kinds of questions, I will have to defer to my experts who are at the state. So we'll try to get back to you on that specifically.
Okay. So I understand the local air resources board, they don't have the tools to measure for HF, and they're relying on the EPA to do that. How do you guys, I mean, at these 9 different monitoring places, like, how do you measure for it? Like, what's the actual, like, infrastructure?
Great question. So yeah, as you mentioned, it is pretty specialty air monitoring equipment, and because the response community is still, these battery fires are relatively new over the past 3 years, so we're still all getting up to speed with the latest and greatest. So that's why we get called out a lot, is because that's usually what we have. What we've deployed out in the field is a device called an SPM Flex, and it runs a chemical tape cassette, basically, which shows the presence of any mineral, of any acid gas. And like I said, hydrogen fluoride is the worst of those acid gases that we would expect to see. So when we're doing that monitoring, we assume it's 100% hydrogen fluoride on our instrumentation.
Okay. And I think my next question is going to be for Vistra, perhaps.
Hang on just one second.
Yeah.
And if you could just speak a tiny bit louder so they can hear up here.
Okay. So my question, Brad, is I understand, like, I still don't fully understand, like, the transition where it goes into, what's it called, thermal
runaway.
And I understand once it gets to thermal runaway, water doesn't help suppress the fire, can make more gas, I guess. So I just want to get a better understanding of that, and, like, but if a fire breaks out in one of these battery plants and water is initially applied to the fire, can it suppress the fire? And then, but if it gets to a certain point, is that where it gets into thermal runaway? I mean, can you please expound on that?
I think you've got a grasp on it. Lithium batteries have a risk, and it's inherent risk, like there is a risk in generating, transmitting, or using electricity that is usually marginalized through prevention, detection, and mitigation, but there is a risk in lithium batteries for overheating. And usually that is it's caused by impact. It is sometimes caused by manufacturing defects, or charging a battery too fast or discharging it too fast. There are a number of anomalies that can cause that. But a cell can begin to overheat, and if it continues to overheat, one way to try and cool it off or absorb the heat, to get the heat to attenuate from the battery, is water. Thermal runaway is a chemical reaction. It can happen without oxygen, it can happen underwater, and it doesn't need oxygen. What water can do is cool it off, but also importantly, cool it off to a point where it doesn't begin to propagate to other cells nearby. Where one cell overheats and then another and another, hence the runaway part. So what we have designed, and these were all approved and met regulations as all of our projects have, with the California Fire Code, Underwriters Laboratory, the National Fire Protection Association. All these standards are met, and they are advancing all the time, but they're all met, is to create a mitigation system with water so that water would be applied to help cool down the battery and stop the propagation, and that was the design for this.
Okay.
That's what water is used for.
But the water was not applied? Do you guys not know
In this
that?
instance, I'm not gonna, we don't know what happened, so I'm not gonna speculate on that. That's why we want to get this fire out and get our people in there to find out what happened and find out exactly what the situation
is there sort of like an airplane version of like a black box that like you guys have like data that tells you what happened?
Yes, we have monitoring data as well, and we will be pulling down that data from servers to begin to create a timeline to kind of a backcast to find out what happened. So yes, but it's voluminous, it's raw, and that'll be part of the investigation. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is approximately like a $1 billion facility. Is that right?
I think by the time you add up what we invested for a capital expense overall with all three projects, it would be approaching $1 billion.
Approaching $1 billion. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact figure was.
And does Vistra plan to rebuild?
We have, again, we're focused on this fire. Then we'll get in and assess what's going on, what caused this. That's what we want to know first. These other questions about the future, we'll get to those, but we're not going to focus on them right now. We're focused on getting the fire out, making sure that people are safe, ending as quickly as we can, cooperating with the authorities. These conditions, we'll take care of these other questions in the future.
Okay.
Got it?
Thanks.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, KION.
Thank you. I just have two more questions. The first one would be for the EPA. Thank you. We're talking about the HF here, and usually it's one of the first gases released during a thermal runaway event like the fire that we saw here. Since the air monitoring didn't start until later that evening, is there a possibility and a concern over initial exposure?
Would you repeat the question?
Sure. So HF is usually one of the first toxins or gases released during a fire such as this with batteries. So because the air monitoring didn't come in until later that evening, is there a concern over initial exposure with those gases when the fire first broke out?
To the community?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, I can't speak to what occurred when we were not doing monitoring data. However, as I mentioned earlier, we did do plume modeling. We started that plume modeling from the moment of the incident, not from the moment that we arrived. And so, like I said, the hydrogen fluoride plume that we saw coming off of that was really on the facility, not extending into the community.
Okay, thank you. My last question, just for the county. What are the benefits of continuing this operation here for the county? Is it a monetary benefit? Would it be more beneficial to move this thing out of the county to a safer location? What are the benefits to keeping it here for the county in the future?
Okay, I don't know if you want to tackle that, or would you?
I think those benefits need to be weighed with the risks at this point, and I'm not in this position right now. Not in this position right now to go through and want to weigh what the benefits and the risks and exactly where they are. Obviously, getting out of this is the first thing. I am concerned about the long term. I made that publicly very clear that I want to see some steps taken that are going to ensure safety, and in terms of getting it out of the county or anything like that, as I say, a lot of this is out of our hands. This is going to be that'd be a private decision. It's going to be a state decision. All we really have control is right here and what's going on right here, and I just want to make sure everything is safe. I think the biggest concern with this is right now, as I realize we're government regulations, the private efforts are all, I believe, in good faith, but this technology, I understand this technology outruns our process to truly understand how to control it. It has become really apparent with 4 fires in 5 years.
Does the county make money off this facility?
As it does with taxes on anything, and makes money off of your house too.
Assemblywoman Addis wants to add on to that briefly.
And I'm sorry I didn't get your name. Can you?
Scott Rates with KION.
No, you know, you're asking really important questions. What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? Is it worth it? Why wasn't there an investigation before? Supervisor Church and I were elected in 22, sworn into office, you know, started in 2023. Neither of us were here for those past situations. And so one of the reasons you're hearing from us right now that we need a full investigation, that we need to pause operations, is that we are here now. And we do want to do the right thing for communities, and it's why we're working hand in glove, and it's why we've come out so strong on this. And what I've been saying all along is we need safe, not safer. We need guarantees. We need to know the community is safe. We need to know that we're not going to have so many questions around what is the air quality, what is the water quality, how did this happen, and not be able to come to the table, number one, with answers and accountability right here, right now, but also with preventative mechanisms going into the future to make sure that when we say to a community, we are working on climate solutions, that we are not also saying we're doing that, but it's on your back. It's on the back of your health and safety that we have climate solutions. And so I think these are the questions that we have to grapple with right now is, you know, first and foremost is safety, and our first responders, I have to say, have done a phenomenal job, and the public has listened. They've stayed away, they've given time to first responders. Understanding what has happened, we have been asking, I've been asking for, you know, 2.5 days now. How did this happen when you told us not that this was okay technology, when you told us this was state-of-the-art technology? How did something like this happen? We have to get to the bottom of that, and we have to get to the bottom of that quickly. Next step is accountability. And it's not just about money. It's not just about handing out money to the community. It's about making sure that people are accountable when they tell us something is something, that it is that thing. And then it's moving into prevention so that when we have these kinds of climate important projects, and they are important for the climate, that we're making a guarantee that we believe in and that we stand behind. And so, Scott, I just want to appreciate those questions. We're getting those questions in our office, and I will reiterate for the general public that we are here to serve and that we're here to work with the county to go down, you know, whatever road we need to go down to get these kinds of answers and these kinds of guarantees.
Okay, we'll take our last question from KSBW.
Thank you. Is there any other concerns we should be aware of with the other battery facility on site?
I will share that I'm very concerned. Right now, what we have been told, and I will say this is from briefings, what we have been told is that we don't expect further emergencies. I don't want to speak for any of the emergency personnel here in terms of what their concerns are, but as a member of the public, I'm very concerned that this not spread. I do want to reiterate what I think we all heard the fire chief say, which is that we feel like we're in a good situation right now. You don't see flames back there, I hope. I'll turn around. There's no flames back there. The wind is not strong right now. We're hoping this thing stays contained, burns itself out, and we can all get back in there. They can get back in there to assess what has happened. But I share, concerns that if this thing spreads, it's a whole new tragedy. So, but I don't think the data right now is showing us that that is likely to happen, if that makes sense.
Chief Mendoza will weigh in.
Yes, thank you. And I can add just a little bit to that. So this is what is called the MOS 300 that we had the incident with. There's also a MOS 100, a MOS 350, and then there's the PG&E substation or facility that's just north of that. So what we can say is that none of those are operational right now. They're all, as you can see in layman's term, disconnected from the grader or the system, and they pose no hazard. Does that answer that question?
Yes, thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, I just want to express and to your question here about the safety onto that facility. As has been mentioned, that did have a fire in 2022. So I mean, I myself, I don't have any faith right now in the technology and the steps that are being done onto it. It is rather interesting that this technology is also put together by Tesla over there, and I did hear something that Elon Musk had made the comment at that point, referring to his site as superior to Vistra's, and it seems to be an inappropriate time to do finger pointing when you've had your own fire of serious magnitude, which caused the highway to be shut down. So I do not know if they've got that resolved. I will say this: they haven't been as open about past problems as Vistra has, and that concerns me.
Okay, that concludes our press conference today. I want to thank everybody for coming out and appreciate the good questions. And as we get more information, if we feel the need to do another press conference, we certainly will, or we'll do our normal Wednesday briefing this Wednesday at noon, which we carry live on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you very much, everyone.